ma se resume en Ecuador.
Don't forget cards at RitaYanez.com, and so am I. Under your bed.
Turn on the light! Turn on the light! Turn on the light!
Hi there, Libra. This is your weekly reading for the week of December 14th through 20th. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope your holiday season is off to a great start and that you're feeling good in every way. The card that you've drawn for Monday is the Three of Wands. This is a card that indicates you've got a few things established in your life, and it could actually be two things that are solid, on firm footing, and on their way. This could be a situation if you feel like you've got your ducks in a row in terms of your education, in terms of your finances. Maybe you own your own home now, or at least you own a mortgage, and maybe you've got your car secured or your bank account and savings. This lets me know that you're feeling positive about the future, and you're now looking on the horizon for new avenues of personal growth, whether they are physical, spiritual, or even material in the financial sense. Your creative juices should be flowing. And with that said, if you have any difficulties or challenges that are carried over from last week, and of course from the more difficult aspects, though separating, you'll probably notice that things get easier as this week moves on. Doesn't mean that the entire week is without its challenges, because life is almost an obstacle course at times, and finding the sense of humor in these situations is what will keep you going. And remember that everything in life is only relative to the experience it provides us. And with that said, even the most difficult situations, when we look back at them, we realize that in the grand scheme of things, we're really not such a big deal, that it was just easier to look back now and say, wow, I thought that was a really big deal at the time that I bounced 2 checks in a row. And then you realize what you need to make sure is that you balance your checkbook or do your online banking a little more prudently, and you'll figure out how to avoid that from happening. And this way, the universe will often provide us avenues for these lessons, but always with the idea that we're just trying to perfect our experience so that it becomes easier as we move along, so that we can enjoy more of the spiritual side of life, which is really, truly the deeper meaning in all there is. Monday, the card that you've drawn here also coincides with Saturn in Sagittarius, or excuse me, the Sun in Sagittarius, squaring Jupiter in Virgo. So Sagittarius being your solar third house of communications, and Jupiter in Virgo being your 12th house of self-undoing, things that are not readily known to you, whether they are past life experiences or experiences from your past or even your childhood that you've carried forward, or situations, fears, paranoias, and different things that haunt us like skeletons in the closet at night. So once you realize that the real purpose of this illumination in your third house with the sun there lets us know that you might want to just bring those same fears to light, face those phobias and paranoias, face the insecurities head on, communicate about them, talk about them with somebody that you trust. Maybe the opportunity will present itself organically and somebody's crossing boundaries with you again, and you finally say, you know what, I really love and care for you, but every time you use me as an avenue to achieve your end, I feel used in the process. And that person then has the ability to understand and accept or reject what your statement and boundaries are. But at the same time, you feel better because you finally stand up for yourself. Also, the 12th house can indicate institutions such as hospitals. For some people, it really could be the kind of institution that is a prison or a facility somewhere where a person has to remain for a time. With Sagittarius there, hosting the sun in the third house, we know that there could be some illumination even about a relative or a person in our life that may have some difficulty expressing themselves, and you may have to play mouthpiece for them. If that sounds a little too high and lofty, understand that even the person who got cut in front of in line at the DMV may need somebody to stand up and say, hey, you know what? This person has been waiting. I'm just going to give them my spot and you go do your thing. But then you can make that person feel better knowing that somebody stood up for them, and you don't have to actually confront that person and deck them in the face at the DMV. But you see what I'm saying? You actually become more empowered as you do stand up for the underdog or do the right thing, even though you're not confrontational. The only thing I would suggest is with Mars in your solar first house that you definitely not get into any power conflicts or difficult matches where somebody could actually call you out for a physical fight, because that can happen there too. I would rather see you use this energy to champion the underdog and to solidify your borders, your boundaries, and what you feel is important to you. So often, Libra, you really love to go play peacemaker, and it really is easier for you to placate or pacify others even when you don't really believe that one person or another is right, even in their argument. But you do that just to keep the peace. But at some point, you need to ask yourself, physician, can you heal yourself? And in that sense, that's where you have to also stand up for yourself the same way that you like to mediate and stand up for others. Now, Tuesday, we've got the King of Swords in reverse. This could be an air sign male, so of course could be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius like yourself. And this could also be a person with those rising signs, or this person can actually show up in the form of a dentist, a surgeon. This could be an attorney, barrister, lawyer, counsel of some kind, as a solicitor. This could be the kind of energy from somebody's perspective that they're very incisive and communicate with great power and great authority. Now, in the reverse, we know that this individual could be abusing their own authority and power. And so, yes, there is a chance that it could be you with Mars there in your first solar house, especially if you're a male or a female that identifies strongly with the masculine. The issue with this energy here, though, is that even though Mercury in Capricorn, which is your solar fourth house of home and family, sextiles Neptune and Pisces, your solar sixth house of work, daily routine, health, service to others, small pets also. This is also a placement that could indicate that you finally have enough in some way, and it could be about your actual day job, your 9 to 5, whatever the routine is that you are in service to others in one way or another. Even if you run a business, you're serving other people in one way or another in order to run your business successfully. So even though we've got this opportunity to go far and to help ease difficult situations, we're still working off of Mars in Libra, which is challenged, of course, by Uranus in Aries, your solar seventh house, where this could cause some real power struggles between you and a mate, you and your committed partnership, your spouse, your live-in roommate for years, your best friend, the person you're in business with, or the significant person that plays a role as your counterpart in a company, even if you work for another person. So these power struggles are still possible. And with that sun squaring Jupiter, we could have things very easily going out of control because of some pent-up rage or frustration you have. And it could just be stress building up. And then here we are in the United States, where we go into all kinds of forms of self-sacrifice and even grotesque displays of vulgarity, just trying to shop there on that Black Friday or that Cyber Monday and trample people in the process, that we could actually become very inflamed and irritated by other people's selfish attitudes. And I gotta say, even though the King of Swords in reverse can be thought of as selfish, sometimes this person actually has to come in and use very cutting, strong words to cut to the chase, quite literally, and get everybody to shut up and back off into their own corners while this individual lectures and or chastises everyone. On Wednesday, we have the the Knight of Swords upright, and this is an indication that you're still feeling mighty powerful. And I reckon if somebody pisses you off, that you're going to come at them. Now, it is possible that somebody comes at you with some forceful communication. Someone else loses their temper toward you. They don't have to be an air sign. It doesn't have to be that you're the air sign. This is really more a card about very aggressive, action-oriented words. You know, this is a person that could be serving you with the legal summons. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. There's really nothing in your ninth house that has me thinking that way. This is just more the idea that I'm trying to communicate, that you could receive this communication in the form of a debt collector sending you something in the mail, and you get that pissed off that you're like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know where this came from. Do some investigation before you actually contact that agency. I think it's always a good idea for people to have post office boxes where you can have mail sent, and maybe even somebody else picks it up for you so that you're not bothered at your private residence, your apartment, your flat. And then that way you can say, you know, I don't know what this is, but why don't you prove to me who you are and what this debt is, who incurred it, who signed for the note, etc. And so remember that you don't need to give any information. Make them prove to you that they have the right person. Do not give your social security number out. Do not give your driver's license, your place of employment, or any other personal information. If they call you on a cell phone, go ahead and block their number, because they can go ahead and put communications in the mail to you if you really are the person that they think they're trying to reach. I want to mention this to you because this time of year, of course, the debt collectors are trying to shake down the last commissions that they can before Christmas, obviously, especially here in the United States. And so they could call saying, are you Joe Blow from Montana? And you're like, you know what? I may share that name, but I'm not Joe Blow from Montana. Oh, don't you work at Stanley Hay? No, I don't actually. I work for Chobani Yogurt. Uh-oh, you just gave too much information away. Make them prove who they think they've got. Make them give you the last four numbers of whoever's social security number, and then go backwards. And then once you do have information and you believe, and remember, only communicate in writing, if you believe that they've got the right person, then you need to find out what the statute of limitations is on certain types of debt in your state, or I suppose in your country, to make sure that they're playing by the rules. I hear about this time and time again from people where they tell me that a debt collector came after them. They answered the phone. They said, oh, I'm so-and-so. This is my address because you say you're going to come serve me. And we're like, oh, Jesus, you didn't just give the address away. If they knew who you are and they were sure of this debt, they would already have a court appointment, and some process server would come locate you, and they'd know where you live. You just told them where you are. And they often will prey on very vulnerable people like seniors who have forgotten a lot of things, or really don't mind paying a debt because they're good, upstanding people. But then before you know it, you've got somebody who's also catfishing you. So if somebody does come at you from an aggressive angle, don't play tit for tat. Don't get aggressive with them. If it is a family member or somebody else, excuse me, that you can't avoid, then the best thing may be to try to de-escalate the situation, even if that means you need to go run your wrists under cold tap. And if you need to mitigate a situation so it doesn't get out of control, if you don't feel that you're able to control yourself, or if you see that that person is out of control, you could even say, hey, look, Dad, I know that you're raging right now, and that there's more to this than I can understand at this point. But we need to either do this via email or some kind of messaging platform so that we don't have to raise our voices to be heard over the other. You know, find a way to de-escalate it, and you'll see that you'll have a better chance at keeping the situation from getting out of control. And obviously, if this is your spouse or somebody that you live with, it's going to be almost impossible to de-escalate if that person is just ready to put on the boxing gloves or take them off. And it might be your job to back down a little bit, just concede a little until a better time. And you could even say, I love you too much to be arguing with you, but at the same time, we're both too upset to communicate effectively. That's usually when you have somebody say, I'm not upset, this is all your fault. And then the best thing to do is say, that might be true, but right now with the level of intensity that we're both engaged in, I can't really understand where you're coming from. And if they get pissed at you, fine. Duck if they throw a plate at your head, but you know what I'm saying? It might be better to just de-escalate and handle things later in the week, or maybe possibly next week. Certainly stay away from that full moon in Cancer on December 25th, because that's going to be a doozy. You can imagine, you know, that Cancer's not going to be too happy about it. Neither will the Cancer rising signs, who might feel it especially so. And of course, it's just always in an emotional time, and people are stressed out by the end of the holidays, or they've been having to mortgage their shoes to buy stamps for Christmas cards, and they're, you know, very stressed out by that time. On Thursday, we've got the Moon card upright, and this is a card that indicates that there could be a level of lack of clarity. And it could be that the information is either not available to you or that it just isn't ever going to be available to you. There could be the sense that you're having to operate in the dark and without really knowing what the outcome is going to be, and that's perfectly fine. Learn to trust your intuition. Learn to trust your gut. The moment that you feel nervous or anxious or over concerned or find yourself watching too many videos like these, then you know that you're off balance and you need to center yourself. This is where you need to calm down, because if anything, the message is with this card, trust your gut. Move forward in peace. If you have a relationship with some kind of higher power, you guys know I'm a Jesus person. I adore him, but I've also been able to see him a couple of times, and I can tell you he is just delightful. So I don't really worry about anything anymore. Years ago, he gave me the best advice, which was when I was having an attack about a difficult situation in my life and a divorce that wouldn't go away and an ex-husband that wanted to just make it as long and drawn out as possible. And I was screaming out into the fields through a bathroom window. I tell people the story. I was just so distraught. And I was saying, why are you letting this happen to me? Basically, I have faith in you, but I've been forgotten, or so it seems. And then he showed up in my bathroom and said, but do you trust me? And I couldn't believe how hard I was laughing through the tears, because it was so significant to me to hear the words, but do you trust me? Because trust is really all you need. And maybe you don't subscribe to a particular higher power and you just love Mother Earth, Gaia, and you trust the universe and or nothing at all but your own devices. Well, then trust your own devices. If you just operate off of pure intellect, and it's working for you, then go with that. There is no right and wrong. There is no correct deity. There is no incorrect deity or universal consciousness. It's whatever you are connected to that makes you feel good, because all the roads lead home. We're all going to the same experience and it will be lovely. But while we're here on this physical plane, we've got to be able to make sense of connecting either with higher self, which probably will work very well for atheists even, in that way they're relying on themselves and no other funky guru's idea of one thing or another. And for very religious people, they might even prefer a particular Catholic saint or another to ground themselves while they pray, not through a middleman or intermediary. But if you talk to Catholic people, it just helps them focus the kind of energy that they need to send forth to feel that they've been heard. So whatever works, because this card is all about trusting your intuition, even when you can't see the road ahead of you, even when the signs and symptoms are not clear and when you don't know what's going on. And this is a really excellent card to contemplate if you do have an anxiety disorder, if you have issues with being very uncomfortable, having to operate just on faith or sheer dumb luck, as I've done. You know, this is really some of the practicing stages where we get good at this. And as an adult, and especially the older you get, you'll realize, if you're conscious at all, how well that works for you. On Thursday, we also have Venus in Scorpio, sextiling Pluto in Capricorn, Scorpio being your second house of income, possessions, the material goods that you buy with that money, the stuff you shove in your drawers and closets, the toaster, the coffee maker, and the toilet paper sitting on the commode. And so this is the kind of energy that talks about grounding yourself in doing what's best for you, that whatever it is that makes you feel secure in your life is probably related to the security of your home base, which is your fourth house of Capricorn. And of course, that would include the people under that roof. And so with that said, your concerns could be that financially you're just not sure if you're going to be able to make everybody happy for the holidays, or that you won't have enough to even feel relaxed on such an important day, especially here in the United States, and certainly for Christian types all over the world. No denomination. I don't do borders and religions, okay? I'm just talking about Christ-like, or at least the spirit of that energy. And if you do Saint Nick or Santa Claus, it's all about the same thing. So here with this kind of energy, you need to remember that people love you, your family loves you, your friends love you for who you are, not what you can do for them. And you know what? I would really love to know who it is that thinks that I am only as good a friend as I am the paycheck or the check written into a gift card, or, you know, whatever that is. So allow yourself to feel stable and to realize that your real security, your real wealth lies in the foundations of your home. And if you say, Rita, I'm single, I don't even have a husband or wife or a dog or a cat or a bird, well, then maybe this is the year that you sit down and remain in a state of grace, being grateful for the roof over your head, for the job, even if you hate having to pack bags or groceries into them, that you realize there are people in countries where they have no say-so. They are literally living on the edge of disaster every waking moment, and that there are children starving in places. And I'm not trying to guilt trip you with the starving images of children in Africa. I'm just trying to get you to remember to keep it in perspective, because when you think that you're not okay, because let's just say the worst thing that could happen to a person on an operating level is to lose a job, well, I suppose it's time to pound the pavement and find a new one, because the universe said this isn't where you should be. There's more to learn somewhere else. Be happy that you have that ability to find another job. Be proud that you've got the wherewithal to say, you know what, I really am not what my paycheck says I am. I am a valuable, wonderful, loving, kind human, and that is my true wealth and the foundation of my life. The way I was raised, whether that was good or bad, right or wrong, it has made me the person I am today, and I'm happy to be me. So just remember at times that, you know, having Mars in Libra can be difficult, because it makes a gentle person like you almost feel like you either have to go out and champion a cause that is almost impossible, because it requires a lot of other elements or more leisure time to work on, and or you feel the urge to really get physically involved in a sport, and you could hurt yourself because there's just so much of this energy from Mars coming through your physical body, especially if you are a Libra rising. So just make sure that you take good care of yourself at this time. And remember that the moon is also reminding you that all things in life are cyclical. There's no way around it. Everything is cyclical. So sometimes things are great, sometimes things are horrible, but we know that one way or another they balance themselves out, and there's nothing else really to worry about. Now on Friday, we've got the Nine of Swords in reverse, and this is great because it lets me know that you're working through a previously difficult, if not intolerable situation where you really felt that you were so stressed out financially or emotionally, or really in terms of anything else going in your life that could be driven to anxiety, that you're finally figuring out that you are in control of your body and that you can calm it down, you can distract it, you can move away from it. For those of you that have actually diagnosed anxiety disorders, you know that at the time that your body is just feeling uncomfortable and your heart is racing and you can't really calm yourself, and you've tried the elliptical and you've tried dancing and you've tried any number of things, like cleaning usually seems to be a good outlet for people because it's kind of mind numbing. You're scrubbing a toilet or tub, and then it just seems to distract you from the real issues. If that doesn't work, then you know there are people that know if they take a tiny little pill, it will calm them down, they'll chill out, and then they don't have to worry. And I'm not a person that pushes pharmaceuticals, but I do know that feeling uncomfortable and anxious is probably one of the most difficult ways to feel, especially if you're a parent and you have small children, or you're just having a hard time staying calm. So you know, drink your green tea, sit down and have a hot chocolate, watch a favorite program, you know, Google videos of old people falling down, or, you know, goats laughing like humans, whatever it is that people like to watch that makes them giggle, you know, do something like that and distract yourself. The sun in Sagittarius at this point is squaring the North Node in Virgo. Sagittarius, again, being your solar third house of communication, of interactions with people, the real foundation of how you come across to others. This is also the early home life and also your day-to-day education, where you don't know how to fix a particular thing on your vehicle and you Google that. That happened in the third house. And Virgo, being your solar 12th house here with the North Node, tells us that the South Node is in your 6th house of Pisces. So the nodes, if you know a little bit about them, are really not objects in the sky. They are points. And so when we know where those are, we understand that they change about every 18 months. And so they're with us for a duration that's pretty decent. And I like to think of it in terms of the North Node telling us where we need to focus to make adjustments, and the South Node telling us where we actually need to make some corrections so that things can flow better and more harmoniously in our lives. So the North Node in Virgo, pointing there toward a very quiet house for you in solar astrology, talks about, again, just really bringing up for review or for the last review before you put these difficult memories or confusing situations into the paper shredder and never look at them again. Some people are really good about being able to visualize taking these experiences, putting them in some kind of a log format in their heads, and then they will visualize putting it into a storage box, like a cardboard file box. And then I walk people through a visualization of taking the box, going to a storage locker, putting it in the storage locker. You're the only one that has the key, and then you put that thing away in a safe place in the area of your mind that is not easily accessed, and that you only go back for it for review if there's a situation in your present life that is mimicking the energy of something that you remember to be similar. And you say, oh gee, it seems like I've dated somebody like this before, and I know that's a difficult individual, because let me think now. Oh, I think I'll go get the file out for dork number 4, because when I dated dork number 4, this seems eerily reminiscent of the same kind of drama. That's a good time to bring out those experiences, but not an everyday waking state. So with the North Node in Virgo, I think that the square is really asking you to get some help with talking about these difficulties, even if it's just a best friend, somebody you love and trust very much, that you can talk to about some personal issues. They might really be related to your early life, your childhood experiences, probably experiences that were already well underway before about the age of 6. That would be where we'd find these kind of experiences in the 12th house that the North Node wants us to make the final adjustments and tweaks and, tie up that folder and put it away. Now, the South Node in Pisces, your solar 6th house, draws my attention because that's a very active day-to-day kind of house, regardless of you being retired or a stay-at-home parent or whatever it is that you do. This is still the routine that you do every day. Even if you get up, eat oatmeal, and take a walk and come home and go to the bathroom, it happened in the 6th house for sure. So with this in mind, the 9 of Swords is asking you to take care of those things in the 12th house, that even if it's to say, I can't correct this thing that I did in the past. Wow, I really blew it. That's amazing. I better not do that again. Let me file this away and again, take notes on it when necessary. And other than that, make it go away. But the South Node in Pisces in your daily life is telling me that there is something from that past life experience or that very subconscious area of your mind or these very early childhood experiences that is now permeating and maybe affecting your self-worth. And you don't feel that you're worthy of easier times or better experiences or more prosperity because you feel bad about yourself. Maybe when you were little, somebody told you that you were never going to amount to anything. That's a crock, obviously, but just to me, the simple fact that I'm still alive makes me very successful. So here, I think it would benefit you very much to really work on that 12th house. You don't have to make it a full-time project. It's just as it comes to you. Like I said, maybe go scrub a floor, do the dishes, do the laundry, do your filing, do things that will help take you out of the state of anxiety that sometimes these experiences can produce. And if you sit there, have you ever had to scrub a floor on your hands and knees and you're like, damn, this is hard work, but you know what? All of a sudden I'm just kind of flowing, wax on, wax off, and you're feeling better. So I think you're going to feel better once you realize that these adjustments are for your own good and there's nothing so terrible or scary about them. They're just little adjustments and tweaks that should be made in order for you to continue to wrap up the end of 2016 so that you can move into next year, 2016, feeling good, whether you celebrated January 1st or you celebrate it on the Chinese New Year, or you actually go into the astrological New Year during the time of Aries, at the beginning of the year. Whatever it is, wrap that up so that you can move forward with this. Venus and Scorpio also in that same second solar house of the income and possessions and what you value and what you think is worth keeping at all, or how you define your self-worth. I'm sure you've met people that they only feel good if they're driving a Mercedes. It doesn't matter if they're living in a cardboard box, but they have to have that Mercedes or they don't feel good about themselves. That happens in the second house as well. We've got a quincunx in conjunct aspect to Uranus in Aries. Again, there's a situation here where maybe you don't feel worthy enough for a good relationship, and that's why you don't think you have one. You probably are padding yourself a little bit so that you don't have to face the risk of getting your heart broken or feeling rejection or any of the other interesting, if not amazing, emotions that we go through multiple times in our lives. Most people do. This is also where you might be feeling a little drawn by a partner to do more for them or to contribute more. And this is part of that boundary episode where you might need to say, I love you and I'm doing all I can, but is our relationship just based on a joint bank account. It's not to say that that's exactly what's going to happen. It could be more that you're feeling this way. You're the one that seems to feel this way. I want you to stop, drop, and realize that there are monks in caves on top of mountains, and they've decided they don't need anything anymore. Many of them go on these really crazy fasting episodes where they're not drinking, they're not eating, they're just meditating, and they're able to be completely at peace, and they've slowed all of the body functions down so that they don't need the fuel and the adrenaline or the rush or the company. And that's what you need to remember too. You are complete already on your own. If you're not happy because you don't have a personal committed relationship or even somebody to go out with to the movies once in a while, think about first, what is it about yourself that you feel isn't good enough, which is the reason why you're probably somehow repelling people away from you. It's probably something that if you and I sat down and worked with it, we'd discover that it's you feeling inadequate, therefore insecure, and projecting that out to other people. And it could just be that you've got your pretty little face tipped to the ground. You're not even smiling at people. And hey, in most of the world, a smile means a lot. And a smile can take a person who's having a horrible day into having the most beautiful double and or triple rainbow moment just because you smiled and nodded. That's all it takes. And maybe you'll get a smile and a nod from somebody else and realize everything is okay in the world. And I'd like to buy the world a Coke. You remember that? I'm dating myself again. On Saturday, we've got the 10 of Wands in reverse, and this is just a card that indicates that you may be feeling like, this has been a really long haul. 2015 was intense, and it seemed like just yesterday it started, and here it's over, and I'm still trying to catch my breath and take off my sweaty gym clothes. And this is okay because it has been kind of a complex here. A lot of adjustments with Saturn making itself comfortable and staying put as of September in Sagittarius, your solar third house of communications. So again, there are lessons here on learning how to, for you from here on out for a couple of years, in terms of communicating with people, how you express yourself, keeping yourself in control, not letting extraneous situations blow your cool. I like to remind people that the best way to lose an argument is to get upset and show it. As soon as you start fighting, then it's all over. We no longer have a winning situation. So just remember that all of these things that you've experienced this year, the stressors and or the complex situations that are carryovers from when Saturn was in Libra, that was your turn. Then when we had Saturn in Scorpio, ouch, that made the whole world uncomfortable. And then Saturn in Sagittarius, of course, challenges us to move above and beyond boundaries, borders, limitations, separation, segregation, individualization, and reminding us that we're all a collective anyway. And if we consider Mother Earth to be a living, breathing organism, guess who's the parasite? You and I, and we should never forget that. Also on Sunday, we've got the Hierophant, and this is a card that indicates you're feeling good about what you're doing toward the end of the week. It starts to come back into focus. Maybe you're feeling like you finally got it. Maybe you listened to this video once and then didn't listen to any more and listen to it once again at the end of the week to just figure out how far you've come. Remember not to rely too much on me or any other funky guru, because the moment that we start relying on this and we can't make a decision without looking at the stars or looking at the lines on our hands, we are not living in the moment. The way I design these is to give you some things, food for thought, if you will, so that you can move forward. And I guarantee you that the moment that you need to remember something I've told you, you will. The moment that you need to remember something I've told you, you will. You'll see that work like magic. Now, the Hierophant is also saying, don't get too stuck in your pigeonhole box, in your separation, segregation, compartmentalization, isolation. Don't get too stuck there. Remember that even though the Hierophant is telling us that being traditional and being conservative in different ways is probably the tried and true, and that's good, but there are plenty of times when we need to use our creativity to help us move outside of the box, if only to look at the damn box from a different point of view, just so that we can see, well, what is that box? I'm always on the inside. If I don't get on the outside of it, I'll never know exactly what that thing looks like, and my perspective can't be complete. So with that said, I wish you a wonderful week, Libra. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Make healthy physical and spiritual choices.